All right, what do you got? Anything for me?
Do you know what's going on with the blue gold format yet?
Yes, same format as last year in terms of point scoring. It'll be offense versus the defense from that standpoint. We just don't have enough offensive linemen. You know, with Steve Elmer being sick today, we had, I think we had 8 linemen out there today. So we just don't have enough linemen. You know, we've got 4 coming in. We've got 2 preferred walk-ons next year, so we'll have 6 linemen coming in next year. Graduating just, I think, 1, right? I think we just graduate 1. So next year, you know, we'll have the depth to be able to break the squads up. I think we're going with 212 stops, 212 normal stops, 15-minute halftime. So guys, get your food quickly and get right back to your computers. And then the second half is going to be a 12 or 15 run, depending on what the time looks like in the second half relative to, I think we've got about an hour and 50, something like that, 150, 155 for our total viewing window. So we'll play it accordingly.
Will it be Everett and Malik switching off through the entire game?
Yes, Charlie, we'll get into Charlie at the end, but it'll be Malik and Everett. And then we'll try to balance the teams best we can. It won't be 1-2. We'll try to you know, balance the teams the best we can.
For Van Gorder, is he going to be an upstairs or downstairs guy?
He'll be on the ground. He'll be on the sideline.
And that'll be his role in the fall too?
That'll be his role in the fall, yes.
What do you like about that? What does he like about that?
I think, you know, a lot of it is like for Bob Diaco, he was just used to being upstairs. We've got 2 very experienced coaches that'll still stay down on the field in Cooks and Elston. So we'll have an experienced group on the field. I think, you know, I've always left it up to the coordinator preference-wise. Very rarely have I mandated it per se. And Brian feels comfortable being on the field because of his experience being on the field.
How much importance does blue gold have compared to practice today? Does it have less, more? Or
no, it continues to have significant importance. Maybe not from your perspective, right? You kind of get a glimpse of, okay, well, maybe this guy can project. For us, you know, this is 24 years, and, you know, I've seen this movie before. I mean, we're in the middle of the process here of developing so many things with our players. So it's an important day for us. I know it's hyperbole with you guys, but for me, it's important because I need Everett out there. I need Malik out there. I need Chris Brown out there. I need Elmer out there. These guys need to keep practicing, and we need more film where we can sit down and coach them and teach them, because it all means something, and it has some significance for us to teach them. So it's an important practice, and even more so because you know, there's a little bit more to it because it's tackle.
Brian, was there a position group, or certain players within that group that exceeded your expectations over the course of the spring?
Well, you know, I think we put a lot on, you know, a limited group in terms of numbers, both with the defensive line and the offensive line. You know, I thought they did a very good job in the spring. We put a lot on the plate of our defensive personnel in general, and they're really eager to learn. I thought that what I was most excited about is that, you know, knock on wood, we go into our 15th with, boy, you know, other than Christian Lombard, you know, falling down in a non-contact drill, we've had a great spring, and our kids have really competed and practiced hard, you know, with a lot going in on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of different looks, and I think those linemen have been asked to do a lot, both on the offensive and defensive line. I think if I was to pick one guy, I mean, I really like the way Colin McGovern's had a great spring for us. You know, he came in off of surgery, you know, was a little bit behind in fall camp, maybe lost his confidence a little bit, but he's had a really good spring for us.
Was that mostly at right tackle where we saw him until today?
He's a guard, but by default, he's had to go out there and, you know, play some tackle. We see him as an inside guy. He's got real good football instincts. Yeah, he's been probably a, you know, if I was to take one guy maybe on the entire offense, it'd probably be him.
Brian, following up on your comments about the offensive line,
Yep.
you know, Harry was a guy that I don't think you had a past with, and you brought him in here. I just wondered what you saw in him that made you feel like he would be the fit that he has been, and just your time with him, just what it's been like for you.
Well, what I knew about Harry was the way he taught and the way his players felt about him. So, you know, for me, you know, I'm a head coach that demands a mental toughness with his group, you know, across the board. And for me, when I evaluate my coaches, to me, what I look for is how hard do they play. I think the measure of an assistant coach, more than anything else, is how hard do they play. And everything about the offensive line that Harry has had, those guys play hard, really hard. And so I'm always looking for coaches that their kids play really hard for them. And that was the thing that I kept hearing about Harry. And I wanted an offensive line coach where those kids really had good, strong relationships with them and played really hard for them.
Sort of follow up on the question comments about the value of the spring game and some teams are going away from it. Does going through the scrimmage and sort of the motions of game day still hold value versus a practice where you can be a little more hands-on and teach a little bit more?
I think they do. You know, if you can create that atmosphere, you know, and we're fortunate at Notre Dame where, you know, we could get, you know, a decent crowd, right? You know, if you can get a decent crowd and create a game-like atmosphere, I definitely think it is helpful to have a game-like format with referees and a crowd, and, you know, that scenario I think is definitely one where the kids have to really focus in a game-like atmosphere. So for me, there's no question that can be helpful. If there's only going to be 100 people there and you don't have the facility to do it, yeah, you could just get by with a scrimmage. But I think we can really create a game-like atmosphere here at Notre Dame.
You mentioned Elmer being sick. Do you expect him? Is that just a day thing?
Yeah, we've run through a number of guys with some stomach ailments. This is probably our fourth or fifth guy. It's just kind of run through the team. We don't expect. I think if we practiced this afternoon, he knew how shorthanded we were. He just started getting sick late last night, and we just held him out. But he'll be fine.
Frank, considering losing 5 of 7 starters up front on defense, how has Van Gorder and his background and experience kind of sped up the process for you?
Well, taking what we have, and you know, we spent the last 3 or 4 practices running a lot of our, you know, stack and 3-down package, and really getting the guys comfortable with that. You know, we started with a lot of our 4-down stuff, so you can see they're very comfortable with a lot of the 3-down stuff that we've got back in this week, and really has done a nice job of kind of, you know, bringing in both packages together. You know, some of the stuff that he's brought with him to the NFL, some of our existing stuff, changing some of the, you know, terminology, but our kids have done a nice job of picking it up. So I think what he's done, more importantly, is created some pass rush from where we've lost some guys that could get after the quarterback, whether it be some singular pressures from the field, whether it be out of our 3-down with our, you know, the cat and the drop scenario. You know, for example, Jalen played drop, but we never saw him come off the edge, right? Now he's coming all the time, so he's an extra pass rusher. So, you know, just creating those scenarios and that extra pressure, he's done a nice job.
Brian, I know circumstances put out there player today, but have you tried to move Matt Hegarty around a little bit to guard for
Say that again. Who?
I know Matt Hegarty. Have you tried
Yes.
to guard a little bit more
We
this
have.
just for when Nick Martin?
Yeah, he'll get a chance to compete for that left guard position. Yeah, I think, we've got to decide, and I think I mentioned this to you, that, the battle will be, McGlinchey or Elmer. Does Elmer stay at left guard? If he stays at left guard, then McGlinchey's at right tackle. Does Elmer go out to right tackle, and McGlinchey become your swing guy? And then that left guard position's open. So that's kind of, we're trying to figure that out right now. And if that's open, then Hegarty, Hanratty, compete, and then we'll see if there's a freshman that is ready like an Elmer was. So, yeah, he's gotten some guard work.
Where do you think the three running backs are this spring's pass catchers compared to last fall?
I've been pleased with their ability to catch the football. That hasn't been a concern. We've been really focused on their ability to protect. We've added a little bit more responsibility in pass protection for them. So that's been a focus for us in the spring, is pass protection for the backs. And they've really done a nice job. On whole, all three of those guys have had a good spring and really have developed in all of those areas: pass catching, running the football, and pass protection. That's a unit that, of all of our units, I feel like they're developing. They're all tough kids too, I thought of the three, Turian probably started a little slow, but has picked it up at the end. And it might have been because Greg Bryant has had a really good spring that got him going. So we got to keep his, competitive nature going. But I'm pleased with the backs.
In the sessions we've seen, Greg's made a few dazzling plays as a receiver. Do you think he can be a unique threat out there?
No, I don't think he'll be a unique threat at the receiver position, but I think he'll be somebody that we feel very comfortable throwing the football to. But I don't think he's going to be somebody that, hey, let's feature Greg Bryant. But we love the ability to match him up, especially if we can get him matched up with a linebacker. There are some natural one-on-ones that you're always going to get, right? One of them's going to be your running back. You're going to get naturally one-on-one matchups with the running back. You're going to get a lot with your tight end. And we feel comfortable if we get matched up with him, we're gonna win those. But I don't see us. He's not Theo Riddick, and I think we all remember Theo. He was a special player as it related to getting him matched up out of the backfield. Greg's not at that level yet.
Ryan, speaking of Brian, what does he bring to the return game that helped you want to see him as a candidate there, and then also, how much were you able to sift through the return guys once you got outside?
We got a good sense of the kickoff return game. I'm still not certain on our punt return game. We didn't get enough work on it. This was our 5th day outside. Saturday will be our 6th. That'll be all fair catches, and I'm sure we'll drop 3 of them, and the internet will blow up on punt returning and who that's going to be. So I don't know really, to be quite frank, who's going to be that guy. It's still work in progress for us. But it'll be Bryant back there. It'll be Torrey Hunter. It'll be Amir Carlisle. It'll be Birch will be back there. I mean, we're going to find anybody that is that has got a pulse. We're going to keep trying them back there. We just don't know right now who that punt returner is going to be.
And what do you like about Bryant in the return game? What have you seen from him?
Well, he did a nice job last fall when we really try to focus on him as being that guy before TJ took that role over. So we have some previous experience watching him and really spending some time with him. So we're relying on some of that, quite frankly, as to why we have some confidence that he can do it. But I can't say for certain that we've got that thing figured out yet.
Brian,
how much of an advantage would it be when your offense goes against a defense like Van Gorder's? You know, just seeing so many different things thrown at him all through spring practice and fall camp.
It's a great advantage, and most would not allow it to go the way I allow it to go. But I mean, it would be much more controlled. I allow it to happen at will. In other words, I want our quarterbacks to see it all. They have seen more exotics. They have seen more things than they will see next year at any one time. And it's difficult on them. It's really hard on them. But I'd rather have it be difficult. So when I go into that meeting, we have great meetings that we can teach off of and learn off of and get better at, you know. And our quarterbacks understand that. You know, they know right now that when it comes to pocket presence and route progression and how they protect themselves, they are not even close to where they need to be. Now, having said that, what they're seeing is really some 500 level stuff. So it's all good stuff, and I'd rather have it that way than have them line up like ducks, and then we get to the fall, and it's like, that's the first time I've ever seen that, coach. So it's hard. It's made for some tough meetings, but I think it's really good teaching in the spring. And I'd rather be teaching in those meetings than just saying, well, you know, this is pretty easy.
When did you make the decision that's how you wanted the balance?
I've done it all that. I've always done it that way. I've always made it harder on the quarterback and made it harder on the offense and let the defense do what they do and put it all in and go ahead. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about you can't run this defense and you can't run this exotic and you can't put in this sub package. We're going to sort it out and we're going to figure it out. And I just think with the short amount of time that we have with our players, that let's really allow them to see so many things so we have some carryover and some teaching that we have with our players, and in particular on the offensive side of the ball.
And I guess is that amplified this spring just because it's new. You know, if it was Bob's defense, I think everyone would sort of know what was.
Absolutely, yeah. And you got to keep in mind, and we graded our quarterbacks the other day, and you know, nobody had a 2.0 cumulative, okay? And the quarterbacks agreed with that grading system. You know, they agreed, and you know, we have a number of categories that we grade them, and a lot of it is because they were taking 500 level classes. I mean, it wasn't easy stuff for them, and so the great part about it is that they see that as well, that they've got a lot of work to do. And you know, Malik hasn't played yet. You know, Everett played, but you saw how we ran the offense with Everett. You know, we took him out in a few games, and Tommy helped us win some games. The defense did a great job of winning games for us. Then he didn't play last year, so he's still learning too. So it's been just great teaching, and Brian's helped us a lot with what he's doing defensively to teach our quarterbacks.
Brian, a little off topic, there have been talks about a future series with Georgia. Just what would the benefits be of that for you guys?
Well, I know that there's been some talk. I heard some rumblings about it. All I know is that in my talks with Jack is that we're looking for matchups down the road that geographically make sense to us. That Atlanta area, that SEC area, and Atlanta is a big area. We've hit Dallas. Obviously, we know that that's a great area for us. We're going to keep looking for geographical areas that make sense, and you know, we got to look at, you know, geographical areas that we're recruiting. Atlanta is one of those areas that we got to keep getting in. So you guys can, you know, we're going to play Georgia Tech. So by process of elimination, you know, if we're talking SEC and we're talking Atlanta, you know, the next team that would pop up, it would seem to be Georgia. But we haven't talked any specifics about a contract or years or anything like that. So I think everything that's out there is really speculative right now. Nobody's come to me and said, hey, we've got a team and we've got a date.
Anything else?
Coach, can you just comment on the women's season?
Yeah. I think a couple things. First of all, you know, when you look at, you know, Notre Dame in particular, the excitement that our women's team created on campus this year was in a lot of ways, you know, very similar to what football did when we went undefeated. There was a great excitement on campus. Our players were talking about it, you know, and so when our players are talking about it and it gets their attention, you know that, you know, it's been pretty exciting on campus, and the run that they had, the undefeated run in particular, was amazing. And then I think, you know, just the fact that they've done it consistently, you know, playing in the Final Four consecutive years. That consistency is what all of our programs here at Notre Dame, in particular football, wants to aspire to, is that consistency year in and year out, playing for championships. And Muffet's is really the one that's been able to do that. And you know, she's kind of set the bar real high. And we're all proud of her accomplishments and our women's basketball team, even though they fell short. You know, clearly we would have loved to have been at full strength. And doesn't take anything away from what UConn did. They're an extraordinary basketball team, but we're very proud of our ladies.
Thanks, guys.